me tell you something. As the mother of a now 16-year-old.
Who I met backstage,
He did?
He's a great young man.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
You represent a lot to a lot of people in general. I mean, you're an example to people who aren't black. Like, yes, we can. Yes, we can. You're an example to boys, like your boys, my boys, their boys in general. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to me, it's very important that African American males get to see something positive. Not just who shot them this week, not the unemployment rate, not what they can't do, not incarceration, you know?
Yeah, so Bad Boy Records, and I'm proud to say I was there on the ground floor.
Yeah.
In the glittering world of fame, where smiles hide secrets and applause buries pain, one woman finally decided to speak. This isn't just another story. This is the story they tried to erase. The story of Wendy Williams, a voice once too loud to silence, now trembling with truth. Once, she was unstoppable. Her laughter, her bold words, her fearless energy lighting up every studio. But what the world never saw was the cost behind that smile. When the cameras went off, her world turned dark. The people she trusted most were the first to destroy her. They called it entertainment, but for Wendy, it became a battlefield. She wasn't fighting for ratings anymore. She was fighting for her sanity. They took her show, her peace, her pride, but what they couldn't take was her story. Now, after years of silence, Wendy stands again, her voice cracked, her eyes heavy, but her truth unshakable. They wanted me forgotten, but I refuse to disappear. Behind the cameras, in the shadows of fame, lies a truth darker than anyone imagined. And tonight, that truth finally has a name. Because when Wendy speaks now, the world stops breathing. IT was supposed to be just another night in New York, flashing lights, champagne glasses, laughter echoing through the air. But behind those golden smiles and designer suits, something darker was brewing. Something Wendy Williams had seen and could never unsee. Back in the 90s, when Wendy was the fearless voice of truth on the radio, she was untouchable. Millions tuned in just to hear her say the things no one else dared to. But one story changed everything. A story that wasn't meant to leave the shadows. A story about one of the most powerful men in the music world, Sean Diddy Combs. That night, Wendy received a mysterious envelope. No name, no return address. Inside were photographs, shocking, private, undeniable. They showed a side of Diddy no one had ever seen. Wendy's hands trembled as she flipped through them, her heart pounding with both fear and duty. She knew the risk, but she also knew her purpose: to tell the truth, no matter the cost. When she exposed the photos live on air, the city froze. Phones rang off the hook. Stations panicked. Within hours, Diddy's team moved like ghosts through the corridors of power. Calls were made, threats were whispered, and by dawn, Wendy's career was over. Fired, blacklisted, silenced. But the story didn't end there. It only went underground. For years, Wendy disappeared, battling depression, illness, and isolation. They said she'd lost her mind. They said she was done. But deep inside, she carried that one night like an open wound. And now she's back. Older, wiser, louder, with the same fire in her eyes that once burned through the lies of an entire industry. Back then, they called me crazy, Wendy says in her trembling voice. But now, the world finally sees what I saw. The cameras roll, the lights flicker. The truth she buried for decades begins to surface again. And this time she's not backing down. Because when you've already lost everything, what's left to fear? Behind the glamour, behind the music, lies a secret that destroyed lives. And tonight, Wendy's ready to tell it all. The world thought Wendy Williams was gone, broken, forgotten, erased. But they were wrong. She didn't vanish, she was silenced. And now that silence has turned into a storm. Wendy's voice trembles as she begins to speak again, her eyes cold, yet filled with pain. They wanted me to disappear, she whispers, But the truth doesn't die, it waits. After years of being blackballed, Wendy's name became a whisper in the industry. A warning. Don't end up like Wendy, they'd say behind closed doors. But what they didn't know was that Wendy had been keeping notes, names, dates, secrets. And those secrets were darker than anyone imagined. Behind the flashing cameras and red carpets, Diddy's empire wasn't built on talent alone. It was built on fear. Fear that made people stay silent. Wendy had seen how he used his power to destroy careers, manipulate deals, and silence those who spoke out. And when she tried to warn the world, they called her crazy. But now, as the walls close in on Diddy after his sentencing, Wendy's words are resurfacing. Clips, interviews, tapes, all coming back like ghosts of the past. One viral clip showed her saying, "I've seen what happens behind those doors, and one day, everyone will." People laughed then. No one's laughing now. In the middle of her comeback interview, Wendy looks straight into the camera, her voice breaking. "You can take my fame, my money, my health, but you'll never take my truth." The audience is silent. You can almost hear the echo of her pain, a woman who lost everything just for telling the world what it didn't want to hear. Social media explodes again. Hashtag Justice for Wendy trends worldwide. Tweets flood in. "She warned us years ago, and we didn't listen. They destroyed her to protect him. Wendy deserves justice." But behind the sympathy, something darker brews: fear. Because if Wendy still has those tapes, those files, then Hollywood's biggest names might be next. And in her closing words, Wendy leans forward and whispers, "Everyone thought the cameras stopped rolling that night, but they didn't. One secret down. 1,000 more to go." The air was heavy that night, like the world itself was holding its breath. The lights were dim, the cameras rolling, and Wendy Williams was about to do what no one ever dared: expose the man who tried to erase her. The screen flickered as Wendy appeared, frail but fierce. Her voice cracked with years of pain, yet her words cut like knives. "They called me crazy," she began, "but the truth doesn't need sanity, it needs courage." Then she pressed play. A single video clip, one that had been locked away for decades. The sound was faint, the footage grainy, but the faces were clear.
And then they collaboed. Do these people call you wanting back in?
G-Dep's in jail.
Right.
And
I forgot.
Luna's in jail.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
By the way, during commercial break, so he whispers to me as we take our shot of Ciroc, and he says, "Ask me anything." Yes. I'm not going crazy, but I like that you say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the fateful night, Biggie was killed.
Mm-hmm.
At the height of his career.
Yes.
Do you ever feel responsible in any way?
Mm-hmm.
In any way?
I mean, the thing that I think I always feel some sort of, responsibility because I'm in this thing with him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He's my artist, and he was supposed to go to London that night, and I let him talk me into, not going to London and staying in LA, and that.
Diddy. The parties. The darkness behind the glamour. The kind of footage that could destroy legacies in seconds. Gasps filled the room. Phones started recording. Hashtags began to form. Hashtag Diddy exposed. Hashtag Wendy was right. The truth was no longer a rumor. It was right there, flashing before millions of eyes. Tears streamed down Wendy's face as she watched the video replay, not because she wanted revenge, but because she had finally been heard. "You took everything from me," she whispered, trembling, "but you couldn't take the truth." Social media went into meltdown. Fans cried. Celebrities went silent. The entire industry trembled. One woman had brought an empire to its knees. Meanwhile, reports spread that Diddy's team was in chaos. Lawyers scrambling. PR statements being drafted. But the damage was already done. The world had seen too much. News anchors called it the biggest scandal since Epstein. Bloggers uploaded breakdowns. Comment sections turned into war zones. Some defended Diddy. Others called for his arrest. But everyone agreed on one thing: Wendy Williams had changed the game forever. And just when the chaos seemed to settle, Wendy looked straight into the camera for one final statement. Behind every lie they built, there was a truth they buried. And Io was buried with it. But guess what? She paused. Her eyes glistened under the studio lights. The dead don't stay silent forever. The screen faded to black. Her voice echoed one last time, soft, broken, yet unshakable. You can destroy the woman, but not her truth. That night, the internet didn't sleep. The truth had finally found its voice, and it was Wendy Williams. And now, as the dust settles, one truth remains. You can silence a voice, but you can never silence the truth it carries. Wendy Williams stood alone, bruised but unbroken, against an empire built on fear, lies, and manipulation. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every single person who's ever been destroyed for daring to speak the truth. If this story broke something inside you, if your heart ached watching her pain, knowing how deep this darkness runs, then don't just scroll past. Let the world know that Wendy's voice still matters. Backslash hit that like button if you believe the truth always finds its way out. Backslash comment hashtag justice for Wendy if you refuse to let her story fade into silence. Backslash and subscribe because this is just the beginning. The deeper we dig, the darker it gets, and trust me, the next revelation will leave you speechless. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a scandal. It's a reminder that even in a world built on lies, one voice can still shake the system.
Stay tuned.
The truth isn't done screaming yet.